Hey, Peaceful Inner Warriors United. I am so excited to actually be sharing with you the special practice that you can create. Now you're going to have to actually create that special practice on your own, but what I'm going to give you today is an introduction to the framework that you can use to structure the practice that is really going to help you truly be the warrior that takes a stand for what you believe in and that has the ability to withstand the storms that come upon you when you go through the sacred sojourn of the soul, which is the S in the special practice. Now, the sacred sojourn of the soul is the hero's journey from a soulful perspective that I'm going to actually be doing as a whole video in the next piece. So we'll leave the sacred sojourn of the soul to that video for you to be able to dive in deeper, because truly that teaching alone transformed my life as it transformed my self-image, which is ultimately what we all really need to kind of go through. Right now, we're going through the restructuring of our self-image personally and collectively. So really understanding and having a physical practice to honor the vessel that transports our soul through this life in is very important. And it's not just about how we move the body, it's also even where we keep the body. So the P of the special practice is actually physiology. So our physical body is the vessel that transports our soul through this lifetime. And what we have to really do is obviously honor our physical body with food, water, rest, and exercise. But what we also need to make sure is that we're keeping ourselves inspired and engaged in our environment. So what's our home life like? What's the home environment like? How can we spice that up so that we enjoy being there a little more? And then also with the earth that we all share. Being in resonance with the earth is an important piece to a special practice, because if we're in tune with the heartbeat of the earth, then we're actually in tune with the moment. Now the E is very near and dear to my heart and yours too, because it's emotion. It's emotional awareness. And the high rise of emotional awareness is actually the theory that Abraham, the consciousness channeled through Esther Hicks, brought forward with the emotional guidance system, which has 22 different emotions on 2 different spectrums, one going downward and one going up. And what's interesting is that I have taken these 22 different levels and applied them to the theory of an apartment building. It's the same address top to bottom, but a completely different experience depending on whether we're in the bottom, the middle, or the penthouse. Now, why this is relevant is because your emotions are ultimately the energies in motion that need to move in order for us to really see things for how they truly are. Otherwise, they become like energy veils of evil that make us live backwards. If you spell evil and live backwards, then you'll see it's an anagram, which I quite love, and words too, which isn't going to necessarily be part of the special practice, but they do factor in a really huge way, because ultimately our words are ultimately swords when we actually understand how to wield them from a sacred perspective instead of a scared one. In Scrabble, scared and sacred, same letters, just different ordering of the creative energy that we use when we're either reactive or creative. Same situation, same letters, different perspective, different experience altogether based on where we put those energies. Now, the conscious mind is a big part of the C, but it's not the whole piece, because core beliefs is actually part of the C in the special practice, because we really need to understand how we even get beliefs in the first place, and then how to actually structure those beliefs into a belief system that is going to support us instead of undermine us. So those core beliefs tie into the conscious mind, subconscious mind, and the superconscious mind, the akashic field that all energy exists within. If you understand time from a different perspective, more like a multidimensional layer cake instead of the linear timeline that we've been taught to think about, things start to make a lot more sense. But we'll get into that later, because I represents intuition. Your intuition is like the guide your soul hired ahead of time to guide you through this life. So if you don't understand how your intuition speaks to you, whether it's claircognizance of clear knowing, or whether it's clairaudience of clear hearing, or clear visual where you're actually able to see things in a way that other people can't, you just know things, that's just your intuition, and it speaks to you in a way that is unique to you, that you really need to do the diligence of actually figuring out what that language is to be able to work with yourself with. Because Spirit is always speaking to us. It just doesn't always make it through us unless we have become willing to actually be the vessel that becomes hollow so that the light can flow through us. Now, A in special practice represents alignment. And alignment is so important because if we're in any time other than this present moment right here where we are, how do we possibly expect to be fully powerful in the present moment if we're elsewhere? So doing some soul fragment recall and actually going back to extract the parts of us that got locked in past emotional traumas and experiences, to actually go back into those spaces, to recollect those soul fragments is going to be what helps us align with the present moment, this present now that is where all of our power truly lies. And that then takes us into the L, which I always saw the L in a different way. Love and Bubbles was originally what I was going to call it because of just how love and excitement bubbles up for me. And I don't know whether that's the same for you. I'd love to know how excitement shows up for you, but I will say that the ego actually perceives fear and excitement the same way. So please do understand that when love and bubbles show up, that's actually your intuition letting you know there's information here that's ready to flow, and that you can either stay in that flow or you can try to control, constrict, contract things, and ultimately jam that flow. And you've got to decide by becoming a responsible leader of yourself, first and foremost. Leadership training is generally available to ones that make it to management or supervisory positions. But how often is leadership training offered to regular people? Well, what I say is that we're all leaders because we have to lead ourselves first and foremost. We cannot lead others where we have dared not venture ourselves. So the L in the special practice is about becoming a responsible leader to yourself first and foremost so that you can be that leader for others. The leader that others are already watching. So then they can see you doing congruent things and then they say, that's the kind of leader that I would like to have. Because truly, we have lost a lot of really important and significant role models. And there are a lot of people that are doing things that are not what they even believe specifically. It's just what is the most convenient stance to take based on where you're aligned politically, socially, culturally. What we really need to understand, though, what I've learned, and I'll bring into what I share, is how the law fits into leadership. So that's been a deep dive that I have been really stretched and grown by through this pandemic, where I spoke out at a rally and then got an offense and have been fighting it with notices and actually learning my rights and claiming my rights and actually non-consenting to the BS that I'm being told was me breaking a rule that was new, that technically there's so much to what's going on. We won't get into that at this point, because hopefully by the time you've watched this in years to come, it won't be the same situation at all. But the reality is that if we don't know the law, if we don't know the rules of the game, how do we expect to play well? If you expect to lead anyone where you haven't went, you're going to be walking that path together, encountering the obstacles and the challenges together. And they're going to be looking to you to advise them, and you've got no experience and have no insight to offer beyond what you think could work for them, but now you're in the situation too. It's less effective than if you've actually been willing to go where you wish to go and where you wish to lead others, which is exactly what I'm doing and why I've created this formula for you to be able to use, as well as the system for Peaceful Inner Warriors United. So I've led myself through the darkest days, weeks, months, years of my life to be able to emerge with insights and secrets and tips that I wish to impart to you. And that's what I'll do in the workshops and the courses that we do following on from here, which is your choice how far you want to go on that journey with me. But what I will say is that each of us are here for a specific reason, and it takes a community of common unity to help us remember what we're here for, to have faith in ourselves enough to actually go for it, and to have a team ready to celebrate us when we win. That's power. And that's what I wish for you. So please do leave a comment below what this message means to you and for you. Please do make sure you like the video and also share it with a friend who would benefit from gaining access to these insights too. We'll see you in the next video. Laura J. Namaste, Namago.